third-party financing, the lead-based paint, buyer or seller temporary residential lease, non-realty items addendum. There's just numerous applicable. You only use check the boxes that are applicable to your transaction. So keep that in mind. Use the addenda that are applicable to your deal, and really that's pretty much it. This chapter kind of goes into also at the bottom of page 190 situations where an addendum should not be added, and at the top of page 191 it goes into the addenda that should not be added into the contract: seller disclosure notice, information about brokerage services notice, things of that nature should not be added in to that paragraph. Chapter 23 is the termination option, and we have talked a lot, not a lot, but some about terminations. When your buyer makes an offer on a property, you have the choice, and you have to explain the way this works to your buyer, because it's really, really important that the buyer understands the option period. Now, there are some really important changes that occurred in the last contract revision. So your book, as you have it now, is incorrect insofar as the number of days that the buyer has to remit the option fee to the seller or the listing broker. So let me line this out to where it's a little bit easier to understand. So you have your buyer, and they want to make an offer on a property. And you make the offer is accepted with a $75 option fee, which would be placed in the first blank of the paragraph, giving the buyer an unrestricted right to terminate within, let's say, 10 days. The next blank is the option will or will not be credited to the sales price. So normally we're always going to check that the option fee will be credited to the sales price at closing. So what this means, once the seller accepts this and the option fee has been remitted within 3 days of the effective date, then you have your buyer has a 10-day option. And what the 10-day option means is that buyer can terminate this contract for any reason. If they can't get everything negotiated out on repairs as a result of an inspection report, a better house comes on the market, the buyer's parents hate the house, and they don't have to give a reason. The buyer does not have to give a reason. They can opt out for any reason at all. So the option paragraphs basically are all structured for the benefit of the buyer. This is no benefit at all to a seller. The changes that were implemented as of being mandatory for use on June the 1st are giving us one extra day to get our option fee into the seller. So say, for example, we have an effective date of, let's just say, July the 1st. Now that's the effective date is the date the buyer and seller agree on the contract. It's signed, initialed, and the effective date is filled in 1 July 2014 on the next to the last page, right above the signature blocks on page 8 of the sales contract. So we've got an effective date of July the 1st. So that means that we would have 3 days after the effective date. So you would count Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which would be the 4th. Wednesday the 2nd, Thursday the 3rd, and Friday the 4th, to remit the option fee to the seller or the listing broker. Now, if you, as the agent, do not remit the option fee within the time specified, these are time-sensitive days. If that option fee has not been remitted to the seller or the listing broker and your contract receipted, your buyer has no option. There is no option. Okay? It's really, really important that you understand that. In the event that buyer wants to opt out during the option period, there is a termination form the buyer has to use. The termination form is in your book. You can look in the index and find it. It's real straightforward. And so let me go over some. In your book, you need to make sure that you understand that you have 3 days now to get the option fee into the seller. Okay. Now, chapter 23, it has several pages in it. You really need to read this and understand this. And this is probably one of the most important chapters in the book, right here at the end. But I want you to really, really understand it. If there is anything about this paragraph you don't understand, call me, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, or whatever, however you want to get a hold of me. Just let me know. And then the very last paragraph or chapter is consult an attorney. The TREC rules prevent us from giving legal advice. As kind of we went through the whole class, understanding that we're not in the business of practicing law. We're not attorneys. So if your buyer or your seller has a legal question about this contract, tell them, take this to an attorney. There's several good real estate attorneys here in town. Attorneys are